Like that new house is retarded, eh?
It's crazy, man.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another cracking installment of the Getting Down with Brown show. With me today, as usual, is my co-host, J-Bone.
Hello, hello, hello.
How's it been going?
It's good. It's Friday.
I know, right?
It feels good. It's been a good week, you know? Yeah.
Today is a good day. You know why?
Tell me.
I got my letter of intent, bitch.
What?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Live on air,
Fuck
man.
yeah,
Jeez,
bro.
Way to keep it from me.
I know.
Yes.
I know,
Yes.
right?
Round of applause.
Babies-
Round of applause
my
in the chat, please.
My baby's getting sold.
Oh, that's magic, man.
I know, man. So I'm super
Congrats.
stoked, dude. I'm super stoked. Yeah, my broker phoned me about half an hour ago. So good timing. Good timing, mate.
That is incredible, dude.
I know, right? And just so relieved.
Mm.
You know, it's just like such a lust to sell a business. It's actually unreal how hard it is to sell a business. Really, it is. People seem to think it's like an easy thing to do, but it's actually way harder than I thought it would be. You know?
Well, when we started, we all thought it would be like pretty simple, right? When you
Yeah,
started
no,
this
exactly.
process, it was like maybe a month, 6 weeks, something like that.
Well, apparently the average time now to sell a business is 105 days
Whoa.
in South Africa anyway.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, some businesses do obviously get sold faster, I guess. Yeah, it's important to suppose manage your expectations.
Yeah, I'm thinking now, like, in hindsight, when you say that number, like it sounded long in my head when you said it.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it's 3.5 months.
Yeah,
It's not that's
it's
actually
not.
pretty
It
quick.
depends on who your broker is. Like my first broker was Benchmark, and I have to be careful what I say here. But Benchmark, let's just say I didn't have a good experience with them. Referred to me twice through my network, and just let's just say I have nothing good to say. So I'm going to stop there. But now my new broker, Aldes, Wynand Volmerans, he's like the guy who you want to introduce to your dad. You know what I mean? Like, like the day I spoke to him the first time, I was like, geez, it just makes me feel safe. You know, it makes me feel like I want to trust this man. You know what I mean? And choosing a broker is not an easy thing to do, you know. Because on the one hand, I had the reputation of Benchmark, which are very successful at big sales, evidently.
Yeah.
But if you're a small business like mine, not so successful.
Probably not a great fit, right?
No,
really,
not a great fit at all. But with Wynand and Aldes, they're the oldest property. Well, a property is kind of like a business anyway, but the oldest business brokerage in the country. So they've been around since like the 1970s. I don't know how to understand. That's mental here.
And it's one thing to have a great experience, but to have a great experience and then get the result is
it's next level, man.
Magic, right?
So if you are interested, Aldes, ALDES. But today we need to get some celebration going on. Today's going to be like a bit of a motivational, uplifting, lots of upliftment happening in this version of the show. So here is my boy. It's time to get out of bed, bitch.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go. Get up, again, they got go. Time to wake up, bitch, get up. Get up, get up.
Right, he needs to be my best friend. That's kind of the mood I'm feeling in right now. So yeah, that's exit number 4 for me, man. So I'm fucking
Incredible.
over the moon, man.
Yeah.
What a way to end a shit year,
Mm.
to be honest.
Yeah.
You know. Really, really tough
Don't really
year.
know what to say, man. It's just such a
Well, it's not done yet. I mean, people get LOIs all the time.
sure.
So you just got to
Yeah.
make sure. But I mean, look, we have a great business. The numbers are there.
Mm.
We've done a lot of the DD effort anyway.
Mhm.
So
In preparation, right? So
yeah, man. So I'm just stoked to have that because there's only one more step,
yeah,
and that's
Yeah.
purchase agreement. So
yeah. What's the timeline here? Do you know?
probably
Like 4 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6
a month,
weeks. Yeah,
4 to 6, I would say.
4 to 6 weeks
Probably a week or two for
Mm.
DD, and then another month
to wrap everything
to
up.
wrap
yeah.
everything up. Yeah. So and
Cool,
then
man.
there's no massive earnout either. So
Mm.
it's like here's 3 months of my time, and I'm gonna transfer the
So what
knowledge
you
to
wanted?
Yeah, man. And so yeah, I don't know where this whole sting came from. Like you have to earn out for 3 to 5 years. I mean, fuck, what a load of bullshit. I'm like, no.
It's that probably
You
like
want
in the
this? You
unicorn-
come get it.
right?
You know,
right,
I'm
right.
gonna chain your ass up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then that's your baby.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I guess in the unicorn space, it kind of makes sense when you're putting that much money into
Yeah.
something.
No, I
that
get
guy
it.
you stay, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
But
Make
it's
this
like,
shit
cool.
work.
How fast is it going to take me to learn this business?
Yeah.
Let me see. 3 months. Okay, cool. That's my term.
Yeah.
It probably could take. It probably do. Less. And
Yeah.
obviously it's important for me to make sure that the new owner is a success
Yes.
at this thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's not like
Right. Right.
Yeah, so if you want to join the conversation, guys, please do. We are watching the live streams. We're all live over the internet. If you want to tweet me at MattBrownZA, you can do that. And today we're going to get into the news.
Mm.
So let's check out this news clip and then we will discuss it. Here we go. There you go, guys. That's from Prof Getaway. Rather, go check out his YouTube channel. Love his stuff. Subscribe to his newsletter as well. It comes out every Saturday morning. That's tomorrow. Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about on the previous show, where it's like the IPO Wild West at the moment. And like, it's ridiculous. Chicken salad being dressed up as chicken shit was a chicken shit being dressed up as chicken
something like
salad. I love that, man. It's got some great terminology for stuff that's really true. And, it's how can it be possible that 1 in 4 companies is making money, dude?
But
Like-
like when you look at that though, like if you go back in time a bit on that chart, people were investing based on sound financials. That's how it seemed, right? 3 in 4,
Well, with the
IPOs.
exception of the dot-com boom.
with the exception of that. Before that, right?
Yeah.
People were investing based on sound financials. So it seems, according to that graph. But now it seems to be more about potential. I mean,
So it's gambling.
it's like stock market is just like legalized mass gambling anyways. I mean, no one can predict the future. But look at how Uber dominated the global ride sharing market, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't focus on profitability. They focused on, we want every single market on this planet. Right? We want the US, Canada, Australia,
Yeah.
China.
So that's
Like-
it's a good point that you landed on. So I've basically, in my business that I've sold, well, hopefully sold, or getting very close to putting final pen to paper. So is you have the services piece and then you have the technology piece. So if you have a SaaS company, so that's Tech Lead Bay, we got Find My Prospect, .com, Super Data Ninja, SME Rocket Fuel. So many of those those are all subscription based products. So on the services side, you can, if you're buying 100% of a business, you can get the profit that's in that business now. But it's services, right? So it's a very high margin type of business operating model to have. In the SaaS space, it's all future cash flows based. So that's the only way that I can explain how an IPO, that 1 in 4 IPOs, only that one business is actually making money, because in many cases, the businesses that are listing are technology companies. Or like there's another clip we'll look at now called DD. In many cases, you're buying the future.
Yes.
So you're saying the business has product market fit, and now they want to scale. And as an institutional investor, would you like a piece of the future cash flows of this story? So stories get you equity, right? And finance gets you capital. So if the underlying economics are not, the thing isn't making money, but they've got 1 million active users, then if you're a savvy investor and you've been down that garden path before, it's likely that given the fundamentals, quote unquote, of the business, it just hasn't made profit yet, but it will make profit in 5 years. And when, the other thing is IPOs, if you take a business and you list it, you're essentially exiting as an owner, as a founder. So in the same way that I'm selling 100% of my group, the shareholders of a business that basically goes and lists as an IPO, Nike, for instance, highly recommend everybody read Shoe Dog, amazing book. You're essentially exiting because you're no longer in control of the business. You're diluting massive amounts of share to get that, get that future cash flow growth, to your point, because that's kind of like what Uber did, right? All these big tech companies, all these marketplace companies, they can only truly become unicorns. In other words, you used earlier, a $1 billion market cap company, if they do a massive capital raise. So you've got Series A, B, C, which is Sequoia, and then somewhere in amongst that is like IPOs. Do you know what I mean? Like it comes after Series. It's like that's almost like your Series A investor cashes out when the thing does an IPO, because then your retail investors get access to the same share capital as what you did, 2 years before. Right. So your shareholder value at that point is going to go from, well, it should go from, let's just say a 10 to a 10x, 10 times 10, So that would be my sense as to why it's only 1 in 4.
I think it's also got to do with, as long as you can prove to me that you have captured or can capture a market, my mind will then project forward and say, what can you do with that in the future? It's okay if you're not making money now, but what can you do with a totally captured market 3-5 years from now? Like that's the potential that I think people invest in.
Yeah, well, if you think about the stages of a SaaS company, right? You've got startup, you've got growth. So between startup and growth, you're going from MVP. Startup is when you get to MVP at the end of that phase. Then you get into growth. Growth is from MVP to product market fit. And then you get expansion, which is where you start adding additional, services or products on top of the SaaS product. So now you're a product with a service, or a software with a service, not software as a service. And then you get into mature. So mature is kind of where you're the category king. It's Airbnb, it's Uber, it's all these other guys. So in that journey, it's only in the mature phase, or maybe slightly earlier, depending on how soon you do the IPO. You know what I'd like to see is what is the average age of a let's just say the last 50 companies that have listed as an IPO, how old are they?
Yeah. See, my assumption is they're fairly established because
Let's see if we can find out.
maybe Rivian is I
See,
don't know.
that's another one.
But Rivian, I'm assuming, has been around for a long time developing their product. I don't know.
Listed on as IPO. Sorry guys, I'm just searching here for
let's take a look.
median age of IPOs. Let me just see show everybody what I'm
2020.
looking at here. 2020 median age, blah blah. There are 8,777. What? Are you kidding me? 8,000. Oh, since 1980 to 2020, 9,000 IPOs. Average age. Business services. Oh, here you go. Number of IPOs, age 6, 6, 6, 12, 10. That can't be right. Is that age?
11
median
years,
age?
Median age
11.
11. That's for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Over the past 20 years, median age 11.
But look at that. 1980 to, let's see, like 1980 to 2000, the average age was 7 years. So in the last 20 years, the average age is 11 years old.
Maybe that it plays into my point, I guess, is that people used to invest in sound financials.
Yeah.
So you could have them, and then later on it started to be more about, do you have a captured market potentially, right? Which takes longer to do.
Yeah. So check this out. What is the percentage of companies who list their businesses in IPO that are VC backed? Check that out.
Wow.
It's low, hey, in the 80s. VC probably wasn't much of a thing. But then in the last 20 years, 51% are VC backed.
1 in every 2, yeah?
That's mental, hey?
Yeah.
Buyout backed technology IPOs. But number of IPOs. God, the 80s were insane for IPOs. 1983, 451. IPOs, 1993, 510, 677 in 1996. Check how it dropped off after 2000 here. Dropped off to like, there was almost none. But then, oh my God, 1990 to 1998, 3,600 IPOs in the last 20. That's insane. That's the run up to the .com crash, right? Yeah, man. So very interesting numbers, right? Very, very interesting numbers. I mean, I just want to maybe bring up this next thing here, which is a company that did list called DD. So DD shares slumped 25% in pre-open trade on China crackdown. So this is the biggest single loss of any IPO in history. So DD Global Inc. slumped rather 25% in US pre-market trade on Tuesday ahead of its first session since Chinese regulators came and said, no, you cannot list on the New York Stock Exchange.
What?
We're coming for you. That's basically what they did. So the Chinese government basically is instrumental. So what was happening was there's actually a documentary on Netflix about this, about US investment funds essentially going to China, finding businesses with zero fundamentals, and listing them on New York exchanges to the retail investor, pumping the stocks, and then the stock would be worth like 4 billion or whatever the case is, and then the retail investors would lose out. Do you remember the name of that series?
I don't, but they had cameras outside of the so-called factories in China, and like no one would come in and out of the factories. The so-called factories.
IPOs. Let's see if we can find it here.
It is a great documentary.
Not finding it.
I'll take a look.
See if you can find it. Yeah. The China Hustle. Isn't that it?
Yes, that is it. The China Hustle. That's the one. Yeah, I can highly recommend this for sure.
The China Hustle. Yeah. I think this is it. Yeah, let's take a look at it actually. Here you go. I'm going to play it for you guys. It's because I care.
After the mortgage crisis in '08.
Everybody's looking to get their money back. China's this exploding market.
It blew my mind.
Let's invest in it now.
Everybody thought, I want to be a part of the China growth story.
We're making a profit. $22 million, $100 million,
20 billion.
50 billion. This was simply too good to be true. And it was.
There are no good guys in this story, including me.
Over 300 businesses operating in China, listed here in the United States.
Public traded stock. It was legit.
But I believed they're misrepresenting and doing less business than they had claimed. So we went to China to monitor one of these companies.
Roads in poor shape.
Garbage, rotting.
A busload of investors shows up. All of a sudden, things get turned on. They leave. All the lights go back off.
It's a $150 million company.
It's a total fraud.
If this one company is so brazenly fraudulent,
We have to worry about all of them here in the United States.
this is the largest financial crime of the last 25 years.
We've never seen a credit buildup that hasn't been followed by a major financial crisis.
Hold on to your wallet.
The government knows what's happening.
That money belongs to mom and pop investors.
The reality is they're going to do nothing about it.
The bad guys in finance are attracted to greed.
I didn't do anything wrong, so I want out of this.
You can't even find people that will help us.
The best place to be a criminal is someplace with no cops.
This is a perfect storm.
Hundreds of billions of dollars that just poof vanish. It's everybody. It's every bank.
Stay tuned.
The China Hustle.
There's an old joke that the biggest lie on Wall Street is that this time it's different.
In theaters on demand, iTunes and Amazon Video, March 30th.
So go check that out, guys. That one's called The China Hustle on Netflix. Highly recommend checking that out. I love that last line. This time, you thought it would be different. Housing crash. Like, God, when's it ever going to end, dude?
Never.
It's not, right?
Never.
Human greed, dude. It's the number
100%.
one weakness in our whole
In our
fabric.
makeup, yeah.
In our whole fabric. So, so that be careful what you invest in, I would suggest. Cool. So we're going to now look at some other news. So I was looking at, well, I should say, I came across this article about NFTs. So this is a subject we've been covering the last couple shows, and I just want to keep following the space. So in my commitment to following the movement of NFTs, this came out. This is on CoinDesk. How a collection of $1 million music NFTs could mint the next platinum record. So if you're into electronic dance music, there is an artist called DeadMau5. And so what he's doing is he's debuting his NFTs of his new single at Miami's Art Basel Festival. So essentially what he's trying to do, so it's let me just read this for you guys. So electronic music producer DeadMau5 and rock band Portugal, the man are looking to non-fungible tokens or NFTs, not music streaming services, to sell their next platinum record. So imagine what the labels are doing. They must be shitting themselves. Remember when like Napster was a thing, and then they were like, "No, music is bad. Music down, illegal piracy." And remember,
Go buy CDs,
Lars Ulrich from Metallica. He he was like the face of like. You know, you remember he printed out all the user accounts of all the people who had downloaded Metallica's album on Napster, and he went to the media and he went, "These guys are criminals," and the whole thing backlashed. Like people were like, "Fuck you, pal! I can do what I want."
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And now look, where we download movies, we do whatever we want. Like everything's kind of like free. Anyway, so going back to this whole article thing, the labels must be. You can't control this. This is like way worse than Napster, because the artists are now properly in control.
That's the thing, right? Is
Yeah.
now this is the first step to artists getting control, and that must be the labels must be shitting themselves.
There must be, right?
Yeah.
I would be.
Yeah.
I think having a label now without some kind of NFT play, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So here you go. So some 250,000 NFTs will be sold at Miami's festival, Art Basel Festival, for $1.29 a piece. 129.
I mean, it's not just the labels, right? It's the streaming platforms.
That's $322,000.
Whoa.
But he makes that probably off one event.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the remaining NFTs will be sold as a mix of singles and bundled units and will come with additional rewards. This is what we were saying about having additional utility that have yet to be announced. Well, that's a worry. Buy my stuff and we will announce where you can get your proper value from later.
It's probably like VIP access or like Golden Circle tickets to some shows and that sort of thing.
I know. So apparently 68,000 tokens have been listed on the site as of yesterday. In a rarity for music landscape dominant platforms like what's Apple and Spotify going to do?
This is what I was saying. It's not just the labels, it's the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Like, because an artist, a very popular artist, DeadMau5 in the electronic, the EDM community is very popular. So what happens if he decides, I'm actually not going to list it on Apple? I'm not going to list it on Spotify.
But that's what's happening. I mean, if you look at the comedy space, I was listening to Tom Segura talk. So he's been on Joe Rogan's show a few times. And so during COVID, what they did was they couldn't do events, like, because obviously for obvious reasons. And so what they did was they created a website called whatever it was called, TomSegura.com, for instance, and then they created their own content. And so there was no NFT or crypto as part of the story, but what it did do was prove that they could commercialize their own material without needing to do or without needing Netflix.
Yes.
So the specials with what are all the big comedians, Joe Rogan, Kevin Hart, and the likes thereof. He's the one guy I watched the other day. He's bloody good. He's a master. Black guy. Been around for years.
Dave Chappelle.
Yes, Dave Chappelle. Also highly recommend watching his one, Closer, on Netflix. So anyway, that's what their thing was. So, Netflix comes along and you're a comedian, they give you $1 million. They say, cool, buddy, you can come do your Netflix. You do 2 shows for us. We'll sell some tickets and we'll release the content. So that was kind of like the deal. So now production wasn't possible, COVID, no events. So what do? They went and launched their own stuff, or that's what Tom did. And he made a shit ton of money during COVID without the need for a Netflix. So the idea is that in the future, creative artists or creative comedians or anybody in the creative space will have complete control over to what extent they can commercialize their content. So for instance, let's just say I created a paid version of this show for iTunes, right? I'm giving them 30% for the privilege. So in the same way that iTunes messed up what it was for the labels. Remember, Steve Jobs went to all the labels and said, listen, you guys basically don't know what the fuck you're doing. I'm launching iTunes. Come list your stuff. And the whole reason why iTunes worked so well was because they had massive supply to service the demand. And now in the same way Netflix came along, now there's an oversupply of content, but the creators aren't getting remunerated in a way that they feel they could be remunerated. And this is what's going on with this DeadMau5 story, I think, because they're like, look, NFTs are not going anywhere. And if I can, make $1 million myself and provide a better experience and control the customer, because the thing with iTunes is you don't control the customer anymore. That's the difference. So a label is even though they may have Rihanna on their albums list or whatever, their artist list, the label doesn't own, EMI doesn't own me, doesn't own you or anybody. iTunes owns the customer.
They do.
That's what makes iTunes so valuable. So now with NFTs and streaming services, to your point, my sense is that creative artists can give the bird to the streaming services. It's happening already.
So I've got a question. Why NFTs in this space? So let's I understand it more in digital art, right? Especially if it's one piece and only one person can own that piece, right? An NFT can be seen as a certificate of authenticity, maybe with some attached utility. Okay, but for a song, right, or an album, you have many downloaders, right? Many listeners of a song, many listeners of an album. Why an NFT? Why go the NFT route? Is it just jumping on the bandwagon? Is it getting some additional media coverage? Because legitimately, you could take a credit card, sell an album on a website, and somebody could download it using your username.
So my answer to that is it creates more value for the customer, the fan, in this case.
Mm-hmm.
So as a fan, I'm paying Apple, whatever the subscription is, let's say $9 a month, $10 a month, for access to all these songs. But I don't own these songs.
Yeah.
So I just license these songs. So NFTs gives me, whether it's true or not, and you can debate it, but it gives me and the fan a true sense of ownership.
Okay.
And along with that ownership, I get additional utility or value. So for instance, I could go to a DeadMau5 concert in New York or Massachusetts at 50% off if I pay for this NFT. So there's a new type of value exchange that's happening here where the fan is now truly empowered to own the music that they love.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, they get additional utility, which they couldn't get by just paying iTunes. They would still need to pay the full entrance fee. But most importantly, the relationship between the creator and the fan, or the supplier and the demand, right, or the supply and the demand, that whole relationship is now changing in a way that wasn't possible before, prior to NFTs. So how would you change it's essentially iTunes came and sat between the label and the artist.
Yeah.
Now the artist is saying, fuck you, iTunes. I want control over full control over my content. I was ripped by labels. So I ran a record label and I explained this on a video earlier this week. So as an artist, I got ripped by labels. Then iTunes came and they ripped the labels. And the only person in this whole story that hasn't truly been in control is the person who is creating the content in the first place.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So the benefit is, there's like numerous benefits. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people want that direct access. They don't want intermediaries. It's like, if I could sell my business directly without a broker and not pay 6% of the transaction fee, then I'd do that.
The question I'd like to have answered is, let's take DeadMau5 for example. Yeah, is he going to get the same amount of reach and make more money doing it this way than he would through an Apple Music or Spotify?
Probably not at first. No. And the other thing to say, it's not that you turn that off. You don't just alienate yourself from your fan base.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is because if I'm on Apple Music, I might not be looking for DeadMau5. I might come across a new release, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And download it. So I'm not going to go looking for his website.
No. But you need mass adoption. So cryptocurrency is not adopted by the masses just yet. But this is a very simple way. I mean, music's so universal. So if there was one thing that was going to drive adoption, it would be music. And the sale of NFTs to events and merchandise and like whatever, private one-on-ones with DeadMau5. Like, you could literally sell NFTs for anything. So the way that I see NFTs is that it's a medium of exchange for any kind of value exchange that you can come up with creatively. So NFTs aren't going to be sold by a bank. Do you know, why would I give a shit about buying anything? But in the creative art space, I mean, we saw the collectibles value or market value is now 10.7 billion, and is grown by 760% just in the last 3 months. It's about collecting things. It's about having a sense of ownership and a new sense of connection to the work and the people and the brands that I love.
So if I own it, I can sell it, right?
Yes.
So I could purchase DeadMau5's album and then sell it, yes?
Well, I don't know. I think there would be rules to that.
Because I'm thinking, does the album then fluctuate in value? Does a song fluctuate in value? If it's released as a single, does its cost increase?
Very interesting. Interesting idea.
Or if it's an outro, you know how some have, some artists have outros. Is that like minimal value?
Yeah. I don't know, but it's exciting to think about what the possibilities could be. You know, like when an album launches, the value of that album is pumped because of the amount of demand.
Yeah. And maybe that's how an artist bridges the gap between what they earn on Apple Music or Spotify and earn through their NFTs.
Yeah, I think consumers would be pissed though if you paid $100 on launch day and then 2 weeks later.
It depends. Like, is it finite? So is there a finite number of albums? Because maybe you're not pissed then because you own then a collectible.
Well, this is the other thing. So I see now I've got it. So basically, to your point, why would you pay 10 times the price for an album?
If there's a limited number of albums.
Yeah, and the way I'm going is I would pay 10 times the price if I could get 10 times the value. In other words, I'm not just buying an album.
It's an investment.
This NFT gets me access or ownership to this album at 10 times the price that it will be in a year from now. But for that $100, I can get access to this and this and this. I get access to the DeadMau5 branding or merchandise, whatever the case is. I get access to his events. I get a discount on the future album. So now it's a principles 101 of a value proposition, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to charge $100, give me $1,000 worth of value. So
100%.
you don't need to be and this is the other thing with iTunes, right? 99 cents per track. It's pretty low. Like, it's pretty low. You need to sell a lot of 99 cents. So you're making 69 cents. So to make $1 million, right?
You got to be pretty popular, you're saying.
Yeah, let's do this. So 1 million divided by 0.99. You need, 69 actually. So how many singles do you need to sell to make $1 million? 1.5 million singles to make $1 million on iTunes.
Yeah, I like the idea, and I don't know if it works this way, but I like the idea of scarcity in albums when you sell them using NFTs. Yeah. I love that idea. I love the idea of tracks increasing and decreasing in value. I love the idea of being able to say, I own one of X of track number 3 on DeadMau5's new album.
Imagine the reseller market for music.
It would be insane.
Yeah.
I hope that it works that way. I don't know if it does.
So like, I paid $1 for this track last week. I'm going to sell it to you now for, $1.30. But the retail price is $2.
Yeah.
The current listed price is $2.
Imagine how much fun you could have with it.
God, you could get rich selling music.
You could, right?
Yeah.
You could.
So now there's a whole other indirect sales channel. And then you could have versions on each track.
Yes.
And you could build in different rules to say how many times has this track been sold. So when you get like those jokes on WhatsApp and it goes, this thing's been forwarded many, many times.
Oh, yes.
So you could reduce, it's the same thing, it's the rules. So in other words, imagine an image on WhatsApp is now an NFT that's been, forwarded a million times as an example. So the more that it's forwarded, the less you can do with it.
Yeah.
So you retain the value.
Yeah.
So now NFTs become a store of value for the exchange of music globally, both direct from the artist or indirect through the community of fans.
I think it's great. If it doesn't work like that, it should.
Yeah. God.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Join the conversation, people. Should people resell music? Alrighty. So we're going to get into some more cool stuff for you guys. I love that conversation. Thanks, J-Bone.
That was cool.
That was a good one. Just going to see who's on the stream here. Right. Okay. So let's have a look at our first feature.
Well, things are going really well these days.
Sorry, I'm going to come back to that. So I just want to set this up. So I told you this would be a motivational show. So I found a motivational clip. And I think at the end of the year, it's been a tough year for everybody. We've now got Omicron. God. Sounds like a superhero.
Omicron.
Omicron job. But it's apparently the word is actually meaning the 15th letter of the Greek alphabet.
Yeah,
that's what it means.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Anyway, so I thought I'd pump you guys up for the weekend, pump you up with some motivation. So here is an awesome clip, compliment of the Mulligan brothers.
While things are going really well these days, I think it's always important to remember that when you're creating a company, there are very dark times, and it's about getting through those dark times. That's the difference between success and failure.
Really focus on making a product that your customers love. And it's so rare that you can buy a product and you love the product when you bought it. There are very few things that fit into that category. And if you can come up with something like that, your business will be successful for sure.
The thing about being an entrepreneur is it's just all to you. You know, a lot of people like to make excuses. I don't have connections, I don't have money, I don't have this. But, you know, if you find something that you like to do or love to do, be great at it and see if you can turn it into a business. In worst case, you're going to have fun doing what it is you love to do. In best case, you can turn it into a business. I'm not big on excuses. I just think if everybody has that opportunity to go for it, they just got to do it.
Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Jack Welch, Larry Page, Mark Zuckerberg, I know all of them. I would like to share with you that those people, the difference between those people and other people, they are always optimistic for the future. They never complain. They always try to solve the problems of the others. Where is the opportunity? The opportunity always lies in the place where people complain. Some people sit there complain, you think, if I can solve that complaint, that's the opportunity.
He sat me down, he said, look, I've got this idea where I think we can listen to Indiana basketball, sporting events, you know, anywhere in the world by using the internet.
Starting a business without any financial backing, it's easy to slip the wrong side, and in fact, you know, most entrepreneurs do slip the wrong side, and the important thing is then just to, you know, pick yourself up and, you know, start again, and if it doesn't work at that time, keep going until you do succeed, and not to give up. You know, there's a very thin dividing line between success and failure when you start a business from scratch. You know, if you don't have enough money to pay the bills, you go the wrong side of that dividing line, and if you can somehow get enough money to pay the bills, you stay the right side of that dividing line.
You've got a phenomenal opportunity, and every single one of you can have a life, and have a great life, and have money, and have a privileged future. The only person stopping you is you.
You make your own luck in life every time, and every entrepreneur makes their own luck. And I don't know anyone who started out as a businessman and not had a bit of good luck and a bit of bad luck.
If you're going to start a company, it takes so much energy that, you know, you get better overcome your feeling of risk.
If you do the work, if you do the preparation, you'll know when it's time. And it doesn't mean that it won't be a little bit scary, but, you know, you'll know.
There you go, guys. Hope you're feeling pumped and reflecting. You know, at the end of the year for me is a special time. You know, they say you must go and do R&R. So it's like, it's rest and recuperation. So for me, like, the number one thing for this time of year is to do rest and reflection. So, like selling my, I hope, obviously everyone heard it up front, but like getting pretty close to finalizing that deal, and, to reflect on the 3 years of building Digital Kung Fu and Black Swan and building all the products. It's an important process for every person, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, to do, but to really reflect on what you've learned, who you've become, where your new weaknesses, new experiences, new friends, new colleagues, new customers, to really think on and reflect on all the little things that have gone into your year.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it plays into my whole thing is like, to be truly happy, you gotta have 4 things. It's friends, freedom, family, and reflection. Not necessarily in that order.
Why? No. Dude, you got to be like friends, family, freedom, and reflection. Like, what? No.
That's it.
You got to have 4 Fs, dude. 4 Fs.
Yeah, that would be catchier,
it would
right?
John J-Bone's F4 framework.
Yeah.
For happy.
That would be that would be nice. Yeah.
Tell us what you're reflecting on at the moment, guys. Drop me a tweet at MattBrownZA or send me an email, hello@mattbrownshow.com. So the other news here for this week is we're launching a new channel called $1 Million Secrets.
$1 Million Principles.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's that new that it's,
I even got the name wrong for my own channel.
Yeah, that's $1 Million Principles.
Yes, $1 Million Principles, people. Principles. Okay, so if you have read my first book, You're in a Game, which is 12 Principles for High Impact Entrepreneurs, this is now the evolution of that idea where life is basically built around principles, internal and external. And I'm writing a new book called $1 Million Principles. And so to help get the idea across for the book, I've been recording with J-Bone some videos. We've done 12 videos this week. We're going to be sticking it up on our new YouTube channel called $1 Million Principles. So all the this content will be on the Matt Brown Show. It'll be a separate separate channel rather. So we got this clip we wanted to show you guys and have you guys here on the main RSS feed all around the world, just to kind of get the idea across. And essentially the principles are basically the things that I've used in my last 20 years of building multiple businesses doing over $1 million in revenue. So you can use these principles in your business, and I know that if you do, you will hopefully get to the kind of success that I know you want. So let's take a look at the first video. Hi there guys, my name is Matt Brown, and this is the $1 Million Principles series, where I'm going to share with you some principles I've used in my entrepreneurial journey, where I've built multiple $1 million businesses. And I think these principles can be easily understood, digested, and used in your own life and in your own business to build the kind of things and achieve the kind of success that really matters to you. And this is principle number 1. Have a why. So when I founded my most recent group of companies that I've exited from, I hadn't had much money at the time. I was actually suffering from crippling debt, and I had a newborn baby. I had a raging addiction to drugs and alcohol. Things were really, really bad. And I have in my life been pretty much unemployable. So I kind of have a shelf life. So if I joined a company, I would basically be eligible for employment for like 6 months. And then basically I would have to leave. So at some point you realize that you just gotta like work for yourself. And so I figured that out quite early on in my life. And so I founded a dozen startups over, the last sort of 20 years, had multiple exits. And so I remember this one time I had started a company, and I was just basically broke. I was totally broke. I had less money than you have probably, listening and watching to me right now. So it was so bad at one stage that I was freewheeling my Jeep down hills to save petrol because I couldn't afford petrol. And I remember on one particular occasion, I was part of a mastermind group, and it's, we kind of took turns paying for breakfast, and what transpired was, it was a breakfast. I was driving there and I was expecting a payment like the day before because I was busy consulting, trying to sell time and hours, and I didn't get paid. And so I went to the breakfast with without the means to pay for breakfast. And I sat down with 6 entrepreneurs there who were all running, successful businesses, and I just started out. And I remember sitting there and literally dying inside. I was dying inside about, like, if I could think of an ego-crushing experience, it was that one where you're in your peer group. It's not like I'm buying you lunch or whatever. And I sat there and I had to tell everybody, look, I can't actually afford to pay for your breakfast. And that crushed me, and you know what the thing is though, I had the choice to not go. I could have saved myself the ego crushing experience and just not have gone and said, hey man, can't bank, I'm busy.
Why did you go?
To teach myself a lesson, to be honest. I wanted to remember how it felt to be in that situation, and also to promise myself never to be in that situation ever again. And I haven't been in that situation since because of that. And I use that story to tell people and to tell entrepreneurs, millennials or aspiring young entrepreneurs, that it's okay to be broke. Most entrepreneurs are broke. They are. Especially for the first 3 years. It takes 15 years to make a quick buck. And you shouldn't believe all the headlines. X startup fund raises X million in dollars, whatever the case is. It's a lot of bullshit in many instances. And in some cases, even if you think about an entrepreneur that's exited a business for $1 million, right? Like my most recent exit. Did you get $1 million? Or was the deal worth $1 million? There's a very different things. And so, I think entrepreneurs go through an endless cycle of suffering, and it's unique to an entrepreneur. Either like an entrepreneur, anybody can be an entrepreneur, but it's not for everyone, and it takes a special type of personality to be able to kind of pull it off successfully. So the principle is this, have a why. You don't need the why, figure out your why, like Simon Sinek's bullshit. You just need to have a why, something that's going to get you through the fire. Because as an entrepreneur, sometimes the only way out is through. And if you don't have a why, something that's going to just get you to burn your ships and cross the sea and invade that land and kick their fucking ass. If you don't have that why, you're not going to make it. So my why at the time was to, be a better father, a better husband, but ultimately to be a better entrepreneur and a better human being. And those were just some of my whys. And if you fast forward, just 3 years later, the business is doing, $1.5 million in revenue. And, that happened almost instantaneously because I remembered why I should continue through the fire. And that is the principle for this video. Guys, if you'd like to get engaged with me or to join the conversation, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And I will see you again soon here on the $1 Million Principles. $1 Million Principles. Yeah, there you go, guys. So that's the first one. Pretty
Very cool.
Pretty open and authentic. Just kind of, tired of being worried about judgment.
And it's great. I mean, guys, if you enjoyed that one, there's 11 more. So, get ready.
Yeah. When's that channel up?
So that channel, we're planning to have up by the end of Monday.
Okay, so Monday close the business.
Yeah,
All right,
so
well,
a good thing to look forward to, right?
maybe we'll play one of the videos like every other show.
That's cool.
Just
Yeah,
to
let's do that.
Get you guys some easy access to some cool shit. So we're going to move on to our next segment here, which is from Rich Mulholland. He sent us a voice note all about personal branding. Here we go.
Hey, it's Richard here from Missing Link. Today I want to talk about personal branding. There's a bit of a problem with personal branding, though, is that it only matters once you've done it. Now, let me explain. So, when people want to engage with people as a brand, they want to engage with them because they're famous. So you have two states here. You have before fame and you have after fame. So after somebody is famous, their personal brand is very, very high. Therefore, people want to associate with the person, not necessarily just the content. You'll book Malcolm Gladwell to come and speak at your event. It doesn't really matter what he talks about. Before you're famous, though, people want the content. Now, I'm not just saying this relative to presenting, but generally thought leadership, as a whole. So before you're famous, what you have to do is spend less time building your own personal brand, unless you want to be like an influencer, but less time building your own personal brand and more time building the brand of the dragon that you're going to help the world slay. If you can build the brand of a problem that exists in the world and then attach yourself to the solution to that, then what's going to happen is your personal brand, your fame, will grow as a result. Once that happens, then you transition over to the after fame personal branding. I hope that makes sense to you. And thanks for listening.
Cool. Apologies, Sean Jensen on LinkedIn for no sound in that clip. When was that? Which clip?
Oh, yeah, Sean, if you
let me know which clip, dude.
Let us know.
Which one? Okay, we are doing this live, so there's no do-overs. Bruce Fennessy, what about subscriptions in the SaaS model? Amounts of users equates to usability. We'll come back to Rich now. Sorry, guys. I just got a whole bunch of comments here. In the SaaS model, amounts of users equates to usability income. I don't really understand, Bruce. Beautiful conversation. Thank you so much. Vicini, you're welcome. Yeah, so personal branding is a thing that I have always believed in. And only because of my own experience with the podcast, so the Matt Brown show and stuff. I mean, like, it's literally, like, it just keeps paying. It just keeps paying back. It's unreal, dude. And what Rich is saying around, personal branding is like before and after, like, I don't necessarily believe in, the idea of getting starstruck, but like I was on 702 this one time and like Aubrey Masango was literally gushing. It was like fucking weird for me.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I watched that actually.
He was like, damn dude, like, oh my God. He was like, oh my God. And I'm like, super awkward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember the early days of before being quote unquote like famous. So like I'm not famous at all. Like I'm like maybe a relatively big fish in a tiny pond in South Africa. But I hope to change that soon. I know what Rich is saying about personal branding before and after, but it's not something that you can do and you start and then turn off. Like you have to continue with that thing. So like being consistent in everything you do around like this. This is what we were talking about the other day around like the first version of Getting Down with Brown with You, how shit it was compared to the way it looks now.
Yeah.
Even the show I think has been the best one so far.
Oh, totally. It will always be that way. Eh?
Yeah. So it's like, the other three things are shit. So do I keep that there? You know what I mean? So anyway, so those are just some of like my personal remarks. What did you think of the clip? What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, I mean, so personally, this whole personal branding journey, it's not something that I've embarked on until like fairly recently. So I'm like, newborn baby in this sort of world. But you've been doing it, for I don't know how long, 7 years, 6-7 years. Podcast, book, not just perso, but attaching your name to business and taking advantage of the fact that it's Matt Brown that's part of Digital Kung Fu. You know what I mean? Matt Brown, who's part of Black Swan Technology Holdings. So it's been a joy to watch.
So
learn from you.
Rich, thank you, J-Bone. So Rich actually, funny story. So when I started the podcast, it wasn't actually called the Matt Brown Show.
Yeah, tell us a story because I don't know the story. Go.
Don't you know this one?
No, give it.
So it wasn't called the Matt Brown Show. It was called the Digital Kung Fu Show.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well. Right?
No. And I was 64 episodes in, and I went to go. Rich has been on the show several times, and I still remember the number 64. So that's like 300 episodes ago. And after I recorded the interview with Rich at his office at Missing Link, he said to me, listen, last week or whenever it was, like the other day, I was at an entrepreneur organization meeting. And the question came up in the forum at EO around what are the favorite podcasts that the guys listen to. So to be part of EO, you have to have these are business owners with businesses that are doing over $1 million in revenue. So on several occasions, the guys were like, yeah, the Digital Kung Fu Show. There's this guy, Matt Brown, and he's very cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he said to me, Matt, I don't understand why you don't call it the Matt Brown Show. Why is it called Digital Kung Fu Show? You know? And I was like, nah, I'm not going to change the name of the show. And I thought about it. And then he basically, Rich is, like, remember he was saying how this show has been influential on him, and it was the reason why he wrote his latest book, Here Be Dragons, which came out today, I think. Go and get it. Here Be Dragons by Rich Mulholland. Story selling, this idea around that. Anyway, so he's been influential on me, and I've been influential on him over the last 7 years. And when it came to the personal branding story, I wasn't a believer at first.
Okay.
I was like, no, because if I sell it, then I could sell the Digital Kung Fu Show. Other people can host it, but you can never sell the Matt Brown Show. Like, how the fuck do you do that?
You can't, right?
You can't do it. And that was my thing, because I always knew, having exited a business before, I wanted to sell at some point. And I didn't want to have my name attached to something I want to sell. That's probably the worst thing you could do if you're an exitpreneur like I am, where you build an exit, and so on. So I didn't want to do it. Anyway, so the name Alon Reyes came up. So Alon is a very influential person on me. Also, someone I respect massively, and he runs Reyes Corp, which is a incubator, most successful incubator on the African continent. He owns like hundreds of businesses. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's next level. And his company is called Reyes Corp. So his name's Alon Reyes.
Right.
And Rich, I was like, yeah, but Alon actually, I said to him, should I change the name of the show? Because Alon had also been on the show, and he was like, no, Rich is shit. Like, why? Well, he didn't say it. He was like, Rich's idea is like, don't change it. It's a Kung Fu Show, like, whatever. So I went back to Rich and I said, Alon says I shouldn't change it. And he went, what's his company name? It's like Reyes Corp. He's like, well, shut the fuck up then.
Oh, well said.
So I changed it to the Matt Brown Show, and that's the way it's been. And no, I don't regret that. Imagine having to redo the name of the show at this stage.
But that's the thing we were speaking about the other day, right? Is like if podcasting is the next thing, or it's always been a thing for you, but if it's like the next thing for you, like lean right into it. Are you building a business?
When now?
No, if you do that. Are you building a business? Are you building a brand? Are they separate? Can one exist without the other?
So a podcast for me is almost like writing a book. Takes a lot of work. You really need to know your shit, and you need to have something interesting to say. Those are the three things. You need to be the front cover of your story. So I would say that over the last 7 years, it's actually in January. So it's another event for the show. So it's 7 years old in January. So let's get a round of applause here. Hey?
Is that from the chat? Thanks, chat.
Thank you, chat. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. So it's 7 years in January. So I think over the last 7 years, I've been building a brand, personal brand, but not a business. I've been building other businesses. But now I think that can change.
Yeah.
So going back to the book thing. So a book is like the world's best business card. So is a podcast.
Yeah.
I can get into any door anywhere in the world with my podcast. I would back myself to do that. And I have. I've had like the who's who of like.
Well, think about what you managed to do in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Right? Just by flashing that business card.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Here's my podcast. Would you like to come on it?
Yeah.
And then, made like $20,000 in revenue in like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's not even applying myself.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is you like, if the next thing is really leaning into it 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then, you know, build products around it, I would say.
So Vaishnavi in the chat said that's where she is now. I started my podcast last year.
Cool.
40 episodes, contemplating changing the name, because a lot of people ask me about that.
Really?
Yeah.
You should definitely change the name. What is the book called?
So the podcast is Mindful Trinity's podcast.
Oh, is that her podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Mindful Trinity podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Mindful Trinity podcast.
So
yeah,
she's
but
contemplating
that's cool.
changing the name.
Mindful Trinity podcast. Yeah. I suppose the question, you have to change the question then to get to the right answer. So like, what are you building with that? Are you trying to build a business where you sell mindfulness, you know, information products or coaching or seminars, whatever the case is? Okay, thank you. That's called mine. So the comments come up late. Sorry, everybody. I got these comments later than I'm going to keep this window open moving forward. Because it doesn't actually come up on Restream. It's very irritating.
Strange.
Oh, no, now it comes up.
Now it comes up. It's just a bit delayed.
Oh, no, but it only shows my comments. That's why. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, just keep that.
I don't know. It's messed up. Sorry, everybody.
But I think the real question to ask, why are people asking you about changing the name? Like, that's okay. Ask them. Why are you asking me that question?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I suppose it's the type of information you're trying to promote. So if it's my inner wellness journey, you're quite constrained around that topic. You know, if you called it the, you know, Vaishnavi show, you know, or Catch Vaishnavi Quick show or something like that, then you have a lot more scope to broaden the topic. You know what I mean?
Yes. Should you want to or need to later on?
Okay, well, let's look at the biggest the biggest podcast in the world, right? So you have the Joe Rogan Experience. Why is it called Joe Rogan Experience? So the thing with podcasts that I've learned that makes a podcast work is talent. So there's 2 million podcasts out there. So if you start a podcast, even Vaishnavi there, so you competing not just with your local market, wherever you are in India or South Africa or UK, you're competing with everybody because I have the choice to turn your shit off if I don't like it.
Yeah.
So, and the one thing, if I look at the downloads, like I'll have Vusi Tembekoya on the show, downloads are higher than normal. If I have, you know, an international, world-renowned New York Times best-selling author on the show, downloads are higher. You know, so it is all about the talent that you have on the show. If you think about Last Week Tonight, what makes that show work? You know, it's the host, John Oliver. If you think about Trevor Noah on The Daily Show, what makes The Daily Show? It's Trevor Noah. You see?
Yeah.
But The Daily Show is not the Trevor Noah show because Trevor Noah is not a permanent thing. He is now, but he's not going to be in like 10 years from now.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a decision really around what brand you want to build. Do you want to build your brand, or do you want to build the brand of a show and sell products off that?
It's so. When I ask this question, I don't even know if did I lead us down this rabbit hole, because this is a whole lot more complex than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, that's a lot of questions to ask there in that space.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a personal choice. You know, build a business or build a personal. Like the other thing to say is like, can you see yourself podcasting as what's the name of the show? The My Inner Wellness Journey. Can you see yourself doing that for the next 15 years? My Inner or can you see yourself doing the Vaishnavi Munsami show? You know what I mean? So the Matt Brown show is like, you know, why would it ever stop that?
You wouldn't, right?
No.
Ever.
No. But thanks for the comments and question, guys.
Yeah, cool.
Very, very cool. We're going to end on the soapbox.
a week.
If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can. So the soapbox for this week is this one here. So there might be a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap? And if there are too many players in the gap and the market is not liquid enough, you will battle to scale your business. And that saying there might be a gap in the market, but is there a market in the gap is really important in my experience, because when you start out, you just think, oh, there's a gap in the market, I'm going to go and start a business and make money. And in many cases, that's not where you make your money, because the gap may be overly supplied. You know what I mean? Like lamp fittings or lighting or cameras. Okay, cool. You're going to start what are you going to do? Camera distribution company. Okay. Yeah. Or you're going to be a content production company or a digital marketing agency. How many digital marketing agencies do you think there are in the world? Like, I mean, everyone and his dog has a digital marketing agency because it's an easy business to sell. That anybody who wants content or digital or Facebook ads, you can buy your stuff. You can buy and commercialize in theory. So you could say that's the gap, but there's an oversupply of agencies and not enough demand.
Yeah.
So in other words, there's not enough customers in a certain market or in a certain gap to fulfill in the demand. So think about partner relationship management. I was thinking about that this morning with Tech Lead Bay. It's like an $85 billion market, right? Which is fucking tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah.
It's a small market compared to the most other markets out there. So the point of that, of the soapbox, is choose your market wisely. And if you do choose a market, choose a fucking big one. Like, go for it. If the market doesn't exist, you must know that you're in for a 10-year fight because you need to make the market.
Yeah.
And this is the fallacy about innovation. If you innovate for the sake of innovating because you're going to make sell a new product to a new customer, it's like, well, yeah, but who else is selling the same or similar thing to that same customer? Do you have the runway and the chops to take on that fight? And very few companies and founders have the means to do that. So that's the soapbox for the show today. J-Bone?
Yeah.
Great show.
Very good show. You want to know what my favorite part of it was?
Yes.
Yeah, the beginning where you told me that you're about to sell the business.
I know, right?
I know. I just had to mention it again because it's so exciting.
Superman.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's cool. Thanks, guys, for all tuning in. Thank you, everybody on, around the internet commenting and stuff. Apologies for only picking up the chats too late in the show. The podcast, just to comment here, the podcast is basically a platform where my guests from health and wellness comes in to help my audience. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I love that concept. My motto is to collectively help society heal. See, this is great. See, your why is amazing, Vaznavi on LinkedIn. Really, really cool. So wishing you all the very best for that. I'll actually tune into your show because I think it's a subject that we can all get into more frequently. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time on the show, J-Bone, and we'll see you all again soon.